This is so exciting, this project, especially on the heels of like everything that's been going on and stories that we weren't typically exposed to before. How familiar were you with, the riots and everything and before signing on to this project and everything?
Sure, sure. No, my former professor Kevin Wilmot, he actually was my screenwriting teacher. He's the one who brought me on board in terms of the project itself and made me aware of the riots. I had never known about them before myself personally.
Hmm. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, so yeah, it was just cold. You came in and
I'd never known about it. I mean, I knew about Black Wall Street. I knew a
yeah,
few things that were a little bit more common, but I'd never heard of the Houston Race Riot of
and you were
1917.
credited. You're credited as a writer and producer on
Yeah.
it. So approaching that kind of like unknown as a writer versus some maybe approaching it as an actor, where do you think the disparity lies in that?
I don't know. I think that all actors, have it in them to write, particularly those who were trained. I did a lot of improv in my training. I did a lot of improv on Empire. You know
Okay.
what I mean? And I think that part of an actor is just awakened artistically. And if you're able to apply the skill of writing onto it, you can tell a story.
Hmm. Interesting. And you were also involved in Selma, which is also, an important moment in Black history, but it's definitely more well known. How do you think audiences might receive a project like that versus one like this, where it's kind of a newer, maybe a newer story to them?
I think they'll receive it controversially. I do. And that's the point. That's the point. Ultimately, when there's, we've been taught Selma. I remember Selma, Lord Selma. I think that was with our journey when Smollett when she was younger.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, no, I because of what we're dealing with, because of, I think a little bit of what we're dealing with is the reason in the film is the reason it was kind of swept under the rug, not kind of majorly swept under the rug. I knew that people would deal with this thing a little bit more controversially, and seeing that the soldiers, responded to racism violently, whereas in Selma, you're walking across Edmund Pettus Bridge, peacefully. They're two different stories, but they're authentic. It's just how you receive them today.
Hmm. It's so interesting that it came out. Were you guys, there's no way you could have anticipated the context in which
Yeah,
it'd
yeah.
be released, but what were the conversations within your like cast and crew, I guess, when
At the time,
yeah, or like yeah, when everything was going on like kind of last month and there were, riots like in our real time.
oh yeah. I mean, people were very happy that when in light of all the stuff that's happening this year, people were happy about the participation because art can be advocacy as well,
Mhm.
and I think it's these stories, these points of origin, and points of reference, if you will, for how to deal or not deal with race relations and violence against race within race relations. I think that I know everybody felt a sense of pride and responsibility in terms of showing this story, which is a cautionary tale, but it's also a lost moment in history. It certainly made me realize the importance. It was, what happened this year isn't unlike what's happened before. It's just, we're filming it, you know what I mean? And seeing someone with a knee on a man's neck, I mean, it's devastating, but now it's being filmed. And ultimately, you know, we have to be responsible in the stories we tell about the truth of our history, even if it's controversial and even if it makes people angry.
What would you say was the biggest, I guess, hurdle you guys had in terms of trying to tell this story?
Uh-huh.
What was like the, I don't know, roadblocks that you guys kind of saw in the
we
process?
everything basically. It was like, the from the funding to, to production, to who would back the film, to who would act in the film. I mean, ultimately, this is my thing. I call it divine. The way that it all came together, it had to be God. This is a story that could have very easily never been told, and it took bravery of certain individuals to push the narrative forward despite what the industry was saying. And ultimately, it was just kind of a fight to the finish.
Yeah, it's really dope that it ended up coming together because it's obviously something none of us like no one's really heard. So because of that, because it's a small or not as well known, did you guys have any difficulty with research and finding, like, I don't know, authentic,
Mhm.
retelling or firsthand experiences and stuff like that? Was that kind of hard to
Sure,
explore?
sure. Well, to answer your question, there's research out there, but the facts are muddled in terms of who did what. Um, we had a lot of stuff. Kevin, in particular, is a history buff and a history. I mean, the first time I went and wrote with him, we had the book A Night of Violence. We had case files. I mean, it was like a forensics table with all the stuff that we had at our fingertips. But even with all that, the movie is based on true events, and we fictionalized a lot of the life before the event of some of the characters and what there are some things that we knew, and there's some things that you don't have access to. It's 103 years old now, and whether papers are lost or things aren't documented accurately, ultimately we had to tell the story up until where the truth kicks in terms of the riot as we know it. And outside of that, I mean, what we were really interested in talking about, obviously themes of colorism, obviously themes of cancel culture in terms of what someone thinks about this person's sexual history. What does it look like to have a light-skinned man be with a dark-skinned woman, and that be normalized within them? And I know I'm happy to talk to you about that in particular, because it seems it's so easy to dismiss and say, oh no, everybody loves everybody.
Yeah.
But I can tell you a story. I remember I went to school in Georgia for a while, and I'll never forget this girl, a very pretty dark-skinned girl, followed me through town to the barber shop to get my hair cut, and walks in, steps in front of me and tells me, "You cute, but you a red bum." You know what I mean? And then walks off. Or I'm in a grocery store, and people are all excited about seeing me because that's the dude from Empire.
Mhm.
And one guy's like, I don't watch a show with a whole bunch of light skinned, what, you know what I mean? And it's something that, with racism and intra-racism, it's just something that we really wanted to hit on all sides in terms of how much, things haven't changed on both sides.
Do you think that's something a lot of, like, Black films in particular are kind of scared to explore?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, anything controversial, people are going to be intimidated because everybody's used to, not even, I won't say everybody's used to, but it seems like people are more intent on their film being successful in terms of people embracing it rather than pointing the finger at each other and looking in the mirror. I like to think, oh, you thought you were coming to see a movie, huh? You thought this was a movie? This, you know what I mean? You didn't think that this was, it would touch those nerves. And that's what we aim to do. And I think that's what we're doing.
I wonder, so what do you think about this project? Because you guys I feel like you guys felt like you had a lot of room to be controversial and a lot of room to, like, start conversations. Where did that, I don't know, I don't want to say confidence, but where did that, like, drive come from? Because
it is confidence. It is confidence.
Yeah.
I think it's watching the events in real life. It's being a Black man in real life and watching television, watching films, and saying, why don't we ever go there? Why do we always just like tiptoe around, the situations, and then things happen in life, and then we get so frustrated and angry for not being seen? Why aren't we fighting to be seen so that in this media, so we can be seen in life?
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. You might not be able to talk to somebody across the racial lines, in real life, but on television, when they're flipping through, that's between them and the television, and it could widen their perspective in terms of, what things are. And then it's up to them to choose how they want to, interact with us or others or not. So yeah, I think it 100% it has to be confidence at this point. It has to be, and I don't think it's confidence for confidence sake. I think it's confidence for the sake of, a better tomorrow, about being the change you want to see.
Were there any other projects or filmmakers that you guys were kind of inspired by in terms of their approach, or was it kind of just original,
We were going at it. I mean, Kevin writes a lot with Spike Lee. I'm sure I can't speak for Kevin, but for me, I mean, this is paying homage to everybody. I'm aware of so many people cinematically in terms of, history of movies and television and theater. But I go for what I go for. You know what I mean? It's, they've done what they've done. They're doing what they're doing, and I'm doing what I'm doing.
True. And so, last question for you. What are other stories, now that you're kind of more in the screenwriting sphere, what are other stories that you'd want to take on, maybe as a writer, as an actor,
Sure.
that's come to light that really inspired you recently? Or...
Hmm. Anything dealing with identity. I'm really in that space. I'm doing another film right now that I've written as well. That is, that's dealing. It's contemporary, obviously, and it's physical. Um, but it still deals with the themes of brotherhood, of honor, and what we look like, what people in general look like to the world versus what they look like to themselves, and how they evolve together in a way that we can all see. Like, I'm really interested in what's inside of of humanity, basically, from the deepest, darkest parts to the lightest, fluffiest parts. We're in there somewhere. And I like telling stories that, like, get the fire lit. You know what I mean? Even if it's, at the minutest level, at least it's happening. And I mean, you know, I've been a part of some things that have done that, and I just want to continue on, but with my own pen.
That's awesome.